So Art,
Yes.
tell me, why do they call it Toltec yoga?
Well, the term yoga is from the East, from India somewhere it started. But because the essential part of yoga, as I understand it, is the breathing, the deep breaths. Magical passes, the practitioners of this ancient Toltec art have used the term, I didn't come up with it, they use the term Toltec yoga because the practices of the ancient Toltecs have a lot of deep breaths, just like yoga. Different kind of moves, some similar to yoga, Hindu yoga, but it's the deep breaths that gave them probably the justification of calling it yoga. So now, a lot of people use the term Toltec yoga instead of magical passes, but they both mean the same.
Okay, well, what is the history behind the Toltecs?
The history behind these magical passes or this Toltec yoga, there isn't much history per se as we understand it in the Western perspective, because really the public worldwide became aware of these movements after Carlos Castaneda published his book Magical Passes. Okay, so there really isn't much history, but previous to Carlos Castaneda, there were many leftovers, cultural leftovers throughout Mexico among certain shamans. They have kept certain practices. Okay, so though Carlos Castaneda brought this to the public, and we're thankful for him for that, it's been around. In fact, when the Spanish arrived here in the 16th century, a lot of these practices went underground because the inquisitional attacks on the Indian cultures. So, a lot of the shamans just went underground. I'm on the Huichole, I'm on the Yaqui, I'm on the Lacandon. They remain in cultural islands throughout Mexico, hidden. But they've been around, okay? So there really is no history, but what we have is the myth, okay? And the practitioners, the practitioners of this art know that all these moves stem from the myth of Quetzalcoatl. You can translate that as the plumed serpent, as most people have, but it's a myth that goes back many thousands of years, according to the Toltecs. Okay,
Really?
Now that goes against scientific, archaeological, facts, but the myth is the myth, and it stems from that. So there is truly no history other than a publication of Castaneda in, I think, 1998. That book came out, The Magical Passes, but it's all stems from the myth of Quetzalcoatl.
So how long have you been practicing?
How long have I been practicing this? Since 1998, soon after the book came out. It took me about a year or so to learn, enough movements because they're very complicated, some of them, okay? However, there are some that are very basic, mostly deep breaths, easy positions that anybody can do. But you have movements for the very athletic, and you have movements for, say, the elderly. So, it just depends on the teacher how he divides that among the group.
And so what are you think the basic benefits of practicing these arts?
Well, the premise of these moves is not it's not a physical exercise, okay? They call it passes, magical passes, because according to myth, they work with in this what they call the luminous egg that's all around every organic and inorganic being. We all have this little field of energy, and so according to these people, according to the ancients, all the vital energy that comes out of your vital organs doesn't go into infinity, remains clustered within that luminous egg, and somehow the myth claims that the ancient shamans, they discovered this. They didn't make it up. They discovered that certain moves they were doing while they were in dreaming techniques. They came back and they discovered that these moves could regain or return some of that vital energy back to your vital organs, thus create good health. So the objective of this is health.
That's very insightful, and thank you for sharing.
Well, you're welcome.